in the meeting now.
Are we gonna be on you?
Yeah.
There is-
Yeah. Okay, let's go. Oh, I don't know, it was here.
Anyone sitting here?
Oh, did you really? I thought you were being funny. Is he checking to see if it
Thank you. Thanks, Jenny.
Yes.
All right, let's go.
Oh, you want me to go? I want to welcome everyone for coming in this evening. We're going to call the public hearing to order. It's 6 p.m. The meeting is required for the lead service line replacement project summary preliminary environmental impacts determination. The city of Berwyn, well, first of all, I'm sorry, let me back up. My name is Sandra Anderson, and I'm the deputy city clerk. And to my right is city clerk Margaret Paul. So I would also like to introduce the people here. This is Alderman Scott Lennon from the 1st Ward, Alderman Richard Leja from the 3rd Ward, Alderman Alicia Ruiz from the 6th Ward. With us, we also have Nicole Campbell, who is the senior traffic engineer. We have Dan Schiller, who's a staff engineer, and we have Jack Kowalis, who I believe is printing out some maps. He's the GIS tech. And with us, we have Maria Cooper, who is the administrative assistant. Maria Cooper also has the capability of interpreting. If anyone needs a Spanish interpreter, please let us know. The city is being assisted by Robinson Engineering. They will be doing the presentation tonight. It will be handled by Jonathan Flowers, who I believe is a project engineer. Is that what your title is? Okay. I would also like to let everyone know that there's a sign-in sheet. If you didn't have an opportunity to sign in, to let us know who's attending. We can pass it around. I kind of think everyone had already signed in, but if anyone needs it, raise your hand and we'll make sure we get it to you so you can sign in. There are copies of the map that you'll see in the center over there. They are currently printing them. If you didn't have an opportunity to pick one up, there'll be some more available shortly. There is a public comment form. If you don't wish to speak publicly this evening, which I'll talk about in just a moment, there is a public comment form that you can pick up. It's on the table. You can fill that form out. Nicole Campbell has one. If you'd like one, just raise your hand. She'll be happy to get one to you. There are questions, public comments, forms, which I just told you about. We are welcoming your public comments. If you would like to speak publicly, please step up to the podium. If you wouldn't mind stating your name, make sure that you speak into the little microphone there. We are recording this because we do have to take minutes to keep track of the meeting. I did not. I forgot to hit the recording, so we're gonna. We're okay. You don't want me to start over? So the city is taking your comments and questions until February 9th. You're going to want to submit those to Clerk Paul. Her email is mpaul@ci.berwyn.il.us. You can call our office. We can give you that information. Okay? I'd like to let you know, I want to confirm that the public hearing was published in the Chicago Sun-Times on January 20th. And I have a copy of the certificate of publication if anyone needs to see it. The notice of the meeting also went out by reverse 911, the telephone system, to residents that signed up for the service. So possibly some of you got notified that way as well. I am now going to, oh, I'm sorry. The meeting was also, can you tell this is my first time? I apologize. The notice of the meeting was also posted in City Hall on the city's website, both upstairs and downstairs.
Can I add something?
Go right ahead.
If anybody wishes to submit a comment, it doesn't have to be tonight. We have a 10-day period. However, if you want the contact info to submit a comment, please raise your hand. I will give you our cards, our fill-out sheet, whatever you need.
Okay, so now we're going to move right along. Let me introduce you to you, Jonathan Flowers from Robinson Engineering.
Thanks, Andy. It's a great turnout. Usually don't get this many people at events like this, so I'm glad that you're all here. The point of the event tonight is to get public comments. So please, if you have something to say, speak up. If you have issues with what you're talking about, ask a question. We are here to interact with you, to make you feel good about this project, or at least to answer your questions.
Well, she has to sit in the front.
I'm Jonathan Flowers. I work for Robinson Engineering. We are the engineers for this project. We have some experience doing these projects. We're working for about 20 other municipalities right now in the same capacity. So I'm going to walk through this whole process. I'm going to start with what we're doing and maybe a little bit more big picture. And then at the end, I would ask that maybe we can hold the questions so we can get through the presentation. And then at the end, we can take questions and talk about what's going on and maybe break down the particulars about what you want to talk about. So the city has applied for funding, and that is the reason why we're all here today. The funding is through the State Revolving Fund Loan Program. That is a mechanism for the federal government to give money to local municipalities to do large public works projects, particularly in water and wastewater. Lead has been a particular interest of lately. Since Flint, Michigan, there's been increased scrutiny on what municipalities are doing about their lead pipes and also increased funding. In the state of Illinois, there is a pool of money that we are trying to get that will help the city of Berwyn replace all their lead pipes, hopefully, and minimize the cost of the city and therefore any cost of the residents. Replacing lead service lines is a state mandate. Law was passed last year, effective January 1st, 2022. In 2027, the city will have to start replacing their pipes. So the city had the foresight to apply for funding in this scenario, to try to figure it out and get ahead of things and hopefully get some forgiveness funding, which is the same as grant money. So I'm going to start just an overview of what a water system is like. Water in Berwyn starts out in Lake Michigan. Then it goes through a treatment plant. I think that treatment plant is Jardine, the one by Navy Pier, a big treatment plant. Then it goes through a bunch of pipes, it gets pumped. It goes into the storage tank here in town. There's an elevated storage tank. I think there's more than one. And then it flows out into the water mains that are underneath the street. And then it goes into the service lines that connect to your homes and businesses. So what we're going to be talking about tonight is these service lines. There's an exhibit in the corner over there that shows what the service line is. There's really two parts. And we want to identify what that service line is made out of, and then if it's made out of lead or galvanized iron, we want to replace it eventually. That is the requirement from the state. So like I said, state law starts replacements in 2027, and then the city is probably going to have 20 years to replace all the pipes. So we're going to do a little bit per year for 20 years. This is the prioritization map. I had to turn it sideways to fit it on the screen. This is based on, or this tells which pipes are going to be replaced first, which areas of town are going to have their pipes replaced first. This was from a rubric we created with the Metropolitan Planning Council. It relies on low income and number of children primarily to identify the areas that are the most sensitive. So this is kind of a scientific based method. Now we use a particular method to develop this prioritization. Last week, the state published a little bit different method. It relies on the same basic principles, but they're breaking it down on a larger level of census tract, not census block. We got down to a smaller level. So this map is just preliminary. It reflects what was submitted with the project plan. It will change a little bit, not much, but just a little bit. When you look at the map, you know, the rainbow Roy G. Biv, the violet is what will go first, the red is what will go last, if you look at the map. And there's also the right side up version of the map over here if you want to check it out later. So these are the violet homes, and then the red are the ones that are last. And this was just purely based on community statistics, not preference, not political, not anything else. This is what has been recommended by various nonprofit agencies and now recommended by the state. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the funding now. What's out there? There was a funding source that was $4 million per community per year. There's a lot of competition for that funding. That is hopefully what we get. That has no strings attached. The state just hands you $4 million. You go out and you do the work. That's what the city is pursuing. That's how we wrote this project plan. We submitted it and we said we want $4 million. That may happen or it may not happen. That probably will run out this year. Other municipalities are applying for that money as well. And what's more likely is that the city will be part of the bipartisan infrastructure law or Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act funding. That's going to come out next year and it's going to last for the next 5 years. So that's kind of the target of what we want to tap into. And the goal for that is obviously to get the forgiveness funding. Forgiveness funding is just like they give you a loan, but you don't have to pay it back. So it's basically giving a grant. That's the goal, to get some forgiveness money for this, but it's also possible that the city will get a 0% interest loan that they'll have to pay back over 30 years to replace these pipes. That has not been determined yet. We're sitting here today because we have applied for this money and they're in the process of reviewing it. This is the last step for to be done with phase 1, and then there's a phase 2 where we have to pass the ordinance and do other things to cross the finish line and fully be ready to go to do this work in the construction phase. This is the cost per lead service line, approximately $10,000. That includes everything. That includes construction, engineering, restoration, you name it. That cost is probably going to go up over time. You know, inflation sets in for that $10,000 in 2023 money. That's just for general knowledge. We anticipate that Berwyn has a lot of lead service lines. Very high density. If you look at that map over there, it's hard to see, I know, but if it's red or orange, that's a high probability of a lead service line. So we didn't get to sample all of them or inspect all of them. But what we can tell about the community and the age of the homes, there's a lot of lead in town. We predict that it's going to cost over $80 million to replace this, and that's why the city is on board to do this now, start planning now, because they're going to need to start replacing in 2027.
In addition, that you have to focus on areas that have kids under 6.
Yes,
That is like their main priority areas.
yes. So that, she's talking about that map, and that map was developed based on the age of children and also the income level. There's some other characteristics too, like social needs, second language, things like that. But age of children and income level are the 2 biggest characteristics. So as part of this evaluation, the state asks that getting this funding, we have to pay back the whole thing. So this is a 5-year project plan, which means that it'll get funded for the next 5 years. We broke it down at $4 million per year. That's about how much one contractor crew can go out and replace. So the payback in that scenario, like I said, 30 years at 0% would be about $650,000 per year for that 5-year block. Now, obviously, it's going to take longer than 5 years to replace it, so we're just looking at this 5-year block that we applied for funding for. Average water bill is $59 per month, and then hypothetically, if it came out of the water fund, there would be some sort of increases in the water bill. That's all hypothetical right now. It hasn't been worked out. And there's also the city of Chicago passes through rate increases. So that's kind of the funding part of it. There's also an environmental aspect of this work, and that's part of the reason why we're here. We had to submit to various environmental groups to say, are we clear to do this work? So we submitted to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Department of Natural Resources. Actually, these are 3 different branches of the Department of Natural Resources. So the Army Corps of Engineers looks at wetlands. They say there's no adverse impacts. Obviously, there's not a lot of wetlands in Berwyn. The Department of Natural Resources, this is for floodplains. This work is covered under a general permit that we just can't, if we replace a service line and then we fill in the hole, it can't be at a higher elevation than when we started, which is pretty simple. We do that anyways. The Historic Preservation Society, they weighed in, so there's not going to be any impacts to historic buildings. And then this EcoCat is for endangered species. They said, believe it or not, there are not that many endangered species doing that. So everything checked out from that perspective. So this is kind of the big picture stuff. Now, I guess we'll open it up to questions, see if you guys want to pick our brains on the concerns that you had. This is just to check the box and say, all right, we talked about all this stuff, but really tonight we're here to solicit comments from you guys. So, yes, sir.
When I walked in and asked about what the maps are, okay, I know the one on the right, exactly what that means, the one on the left, and you gave me an explanation. All right, overall, the times it's taken according to your prediction of doing the whole city is written in boxes associated with the colors.
Yes.
People don't know that because it's not written on the map, just so I'm saying that. So it's more of information than a question. Overall, to me, okay, overall is that if the project is $10,000, I guess, per unit,
Yes.
this is per property,
Yes.
okay? No matter how big a property is, no matter whether it's 4-story condominium versus a single-family home with 500 square feet.
There is some variability in terms of, I think we talked about that exhibit where we had 2 different parts of the service line. So if you only have one part there, there's a curb stop valve, and sometimes there are different materials on each side, so that's only half the price.
The word on your first display was LSLR.
Yes,
It's line service, line,
lead service line replacement.
okay?
Yeah.
That wasn't explained, so no.
Sure.
So that's for from the service line for the city, okay, as it comes down the street. Everything that's tapped into it, okay, to go into each property, okay, is the lead line you're going to replace,
Yes,
mandate.
yes,
I know exactly where mine's at, only because of that thing 7 years ago, and I watched the guy do it, it took him 3 days. It's just to replace the valve connected to the service line.
Yeah.
No big deal. All right. Now, overall, all the project itself costs are associated with somebody else doing it, and the city paying that cost, and it's no cost to the individual until the cost of the money accumulated in spending is done by the city, and therefore it's added on to the water bill or an individual property tax.
so that is how, there's some nuances here. There's the, what we submitted to the IEPA as a planning aspect, but then the city also has their own program with cost sharing involved. So if you want to volunteer to replace your service line now, you will put some skin in the game and pay for a portion of that, and the city will pay for the rest. And also, this funding is proposed, preliminary, the details have not been worked out yet.
So everybody is liable for a cost in their replacement no matter what.
We haven't gotten to those details yet.
That's why we're all here.
That's why we're all here, and that's why Berwyn is jumping ahead, because all of our neighbors have lead service lines. So if we put together this project plan and secure the funds, oh, we are one step ahead of the game.
I'm not
And
quibbling,
no, I
I'm
understand.
not quibbling one way or the other. The cost somehow, but I happen to read the map correctly. I'll set that later with somebody else. Okay, I'm in the first year part. Why? Hey, good guess. It's all for me. So, hey, we get it done quick. Right next to me is 18th year. Okay?
But, correct, we have a
Therefore,
plan.
if somebody's doing a cross on a block, okay, they're doing something to take up a parkway where all the connections, I know on my block are at, on the parkway. All the parkways are associated with landscape. Every parkway in this city has got landscape. This is called the city of trees, am I not mistaken? Thank you, very good. You start going after the roots of trees, you got problems. But that's beside the point, that's part of the conditional response by the plumbing contractor to do the deal. Okay, so overall, that is gonna have to be handled some way, somehow. The person has no control over that, the homeowner. Yes or no?
So as a homeowner, you have the right to refuse replacement. Um,
Okay,
It's,
that's good.
you have to sign a waiver, and the only down part about that is, first of all, there's two. First of all, you have your lead service line still, which is an old pipe, there's some risks associated with it. The second thing is, when you sell your house, there's a real estate law that you have to disclose that you have a lead service line. So that's basically like disclosing that you have a bad roof or a bad furnace, and that comes off the sale price of the house.
Because the land itself, what most houses people don't realize is, it comes through the foundation, someplace, somehow. I know exactly where mine goes.
Sure.
It's in regards, but I'm trying to say that the cost that's done by the home, he takes care of stuff like that. All the stuff that's on the property itself has to be, quote, remedied somehow by the owner, by the plumber, or by the city. To go
Right.
back to, let's say, pre-lead service line replacement.
Yes.
At least that's what the
Yeah.
individual would like to do.
We
Because
would
the building's
restore
coming
to
from who?
better than
Yeah.
the conditions were. We write specifications, we have landscapers. Is
No,
that what you're worried
This
about?
is more, my question is more of telling people what they're gonna get involved with, how they do it. It's for them to ask, they can ask up to the sign. What I'm trying to get at, even if the price itself is $5,000, okay? Somewhere along the line, somebody's paying that number. Initially or subsequently within 2 or 3 years of the property, if I'm in year one, if I read it wrong, okay, I say, yes, I want to be first when I have it done. And you say, fine, Danny, what do I have to correspond?
What do you have to do?
Yeah,
You have to sign a piece of paper, it's called an access agreement.
yes,
You sign on the dotted line and say, I want you to come inspect my home and then replace my lead service if there's a lead service.
okay, that's it.
Yeah, well, but we haven't determined the pricing yet. So there will be a pricing aspect of that too.
Okay,
So
no.
you will be responsible for paying for this.
And that pricing will come after the fact.
No, it'll come before, it'll be on the agreement, of course.
Okay.
So, and part of the variability of pricing is we've applied for this funding, but we don't know if we're gonna get it
I
and
understand
in
that.
what form. And
See, that's
so,
what I'm getting at. I do this smiling because I just had a problematic, a lot of people have that. You have a contract to do a job. You have a quotation. And the quotation says, I'll do the job. If you can afford and like what they tell you, you make the job. If you figure out that they're gonna do it in 5 hours, and they want $10,000. You say, wait, that's how much? Well, that's $3,000 an hour for somebody to work in. That's a pretty good salary for somebody, or for the company to do it. So therefore, what you're charging, not you, but somehow in the meeting is charging for this, is associated with very good piecing with government maybe payout or whatever it might be. So therefore, all the paperwork before you get started in the job, can get to be a pain in the rear end. Yes or no?
you're telling me, yeah.
Sir, I would like to let you know, we're not flying blind. We're doing this in the depot as part of the water main replacement project. We have
just had heard, this is supposed to start in 2027, yes?
That's the mandated start. If we get funding this year, we'll
You
start.
can do beforehand maybe, depending on if everything corresponds.
Yeah.
But it won't start tomorrow, it won't start in 2023, the way I feel. And we have, but somehow, thinking the end of this year and sometime next year.
Probably.
You gotta give people options.
All right, we're gonna come back to you, sir. I think we got some
So
other
that's,
questions. Yes.
that's
My
my
question, but do you have a microphone? I couldn't understand a single thing he said. She's got a mask on, forget about understanding what she's saying. So we're losing half of it.
Okay,
Okay,
if you guys can
I
come up and.
apologize, I was
maybe
trying to be,
I understand that you're
do you want to?
looking for funds. I don't need a microphone. I'm loud now, that's it. My wife tells me that. Anyway, I understand you're looking for funds and it's gonna take a while before you're able to get these, acquire these funds. And then to find out how much funds you're gonna get and how much each individual will be entitled to out of those funds, whether it pays for the whole ball of wax or part of it.
Yes.
I guess my question is, are you going to have to rip up all and take out all of the lead pipes out of the ground?
No.
Or are you gonna bypass them like the gas company did and put other pipes in above? So, okay, that was
Yeah.
my main question, whether you could do that or not.
Yeah, so to answer your question, they will be abandoned in place. There will be a new service line that is drilled through your basement into your
In other
house.
words, you're not gonna have to rip up everybody's front lawn in
No.
order to do it.
No.
Okay, that's awesome, just
Yeah.
like the gas company.
Exactly,
Okay, that's great.
yeah.
All right, I just wish you luck in getting your money.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. In the back there, we'll come back to you.
Years ago, when I was redoing some, heat, bathroom things, I had the guy, change all the lead pipes, water pipes,
Sure,
to copper.
yes.
So that would eliminate if anybody having to come into my house and change any, pipes, right?
You talking about inside your house?
Yeah,
So we're talking about the service line that's between the street and your house.
okay, because I thought you were saying something about going into the house.
We will go into the house. The mandate is 18 inches inside the foundation wall to the first valve. We usually write it so it's to the meter, if you have a meter inside your house. But
No, all our meters are outside.
your meters are outside?
Well, they do it, they drive by it.
The water meters?
So if you have a meter in your basement, it'll be to the meter. If you have a meter outside in a pit, it'll be probably to 18 inches inside the foundation wall. Yes?
So it's those that have water meters inside, in their basement, and at the same time, from what I heard and that with conversation was that you're just going up to the parkway, but you're going actually up to the front wall of the house.
Yes, the only thing is we need,
Inside underground.
yeah, we need the resident to sign off on that.
Okay,
So-
so when it comes to any landscaping, retaining walls, or anything else that we have, you will replace it?
That's the idea. Now, that comes down to funding. But the specs and the design will be written so that it will be replaced, yes.
Okay, because I know years back when it came to a tree being taken out, and on the parkway, we had that little section of sidewalk next to the curb.
Mm-hmm,
That was replaced free.
yes.
Then all of a sudden, other people were getting charged, and I'm like, oh, no, that should be free. And that, but at the same time, when it comes to the sidewalk, then they had the program where it was half and half. So, with this replacement, and that, because you're gonna go through the sidewalk and that, are you just taking the section where the pipe is at, and then is that at the homeowner's cost totally, or half, or none at all?
So we will write it so that it's being replaced, like you say, completely replaced as it was, restoration in kind. Now, how the payment breaks down, that's what's to be determined. But if you don't like the payment terms, you can say, I don't want to pay anything, I'm opting out, I'm leaving my pipe as it is. But then you have, yes,
I moved out of this place,
yes,
because I've been here 6 years. If I move out and that, and I'm over on 38th and near Pershing, I think I'm the last. But the thing is that if, as anything else, it can change the demographics of this. When it comes to that, is that gonna reduce
That's a great point.
And do I have to reveal, hey, I got lead pipes, but I haven't gotten them replaced yet? That shouldn't be on me. That should be going to the new homeowner if they're wanting to buy the house.
That's the Illinois state law. You have to disclose that.
You have, to-
Oh, I know you have to.
It's not a Berwyn law, it's an Illinois law.
And when does that go into effect?
the state law is,
What your,
Couple
what
years
the
ago.
young lady said about selling
A
the house?
couple years ago.
yeah,
It's a real state law.
it's in effect now. Yes,
Okay, in our case, we already having a problem with the curb stop.
yes.
So, we were thinking, okay, if we're gonna replace the lines now, do we get any type of assistance from the town or anything at this point? Or is it up to us to pay for the water lines right now at this point? Or we need to replace them right now, or can we just fix the curb stop? What should we fix?
So to clarify, your curb stop has a problem right now?
It's leaking.
It's leaking right now?
Uh-huh.
So before this funding comes through and we have the program set up, you would have to enter into the existing program with the cost share with the city to get everything replaced.
Can you please give Maria your info?
We talked to her already,
Oh,
that's why
okay.
I'm bringing it up. Is there another thing I could do maybe instead, or is it something that, is
Well,
gonna come through?
we have the shared cost program, but we can also send Public Works out to figure out what's going on. I mean, I don't know what's happening at your location, I don't know your address or anything like that, but, you know, somebody
We're
could
on
take.
Riverside Drive, and actually the plumber, Mr. Brett Cannon, had been there, so he was accessing, you know,
Okay.
the pipes there, so I'm just waiting to hear.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, get in contact with Maria, send, whatever paperwork he gave you, and we will look into it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And I think the bigger point to that question, the soonest that we will start replacing pipes is about this time next year. That's the soonest, if you're not going into the cost share program. Yes, in the back.
So the cost share program is not going away for now, right?
For now, no.
Because, I mean, I'm on number 20, year 20 as well, but we've already submitted for contractors. So we can still do that when you get to our area. I mean, you'll have city permits that say this residence or like replace, right? So you're gonna have an inventory of people who have already taken advantage of the program.
We will have an inventory. That'll be on the city's website. You'll be able to click on a map and look at your home and a lot of the homes in the city and see what their pipe materials are. That'll all be recorded.
I don't think there's anything to do with this, but several years now they said if you want to take the extra sewer line insurance, or water line insurance, that has nothing to do with this.
No,
correct?
that insurance is.
Question. Repeat the question.
Oh, she was asking, there's certain companies that approach residents about purchasing water line insurance or sewer line insurance, where you pay in, it's just like your homeowner's insurance. You pay in, and then over time, if something bad, like you have a B-box or a curb stop break, you can pull out of that money and replace your service line. This is not related to that. And that is not through the city, is it? No, it's not through the city.
No, Service Line Warranties is an outside company where you can pay for insuring your lines if you do have a break or a burst or whatever, but it's not part of this.
Yes, sir.
As of January 1st, 2022, you can no longer repair lead services.
Right.
That's state law.
Yes.
I don't know how that insurance would work if somebody developed a leak and they had insurance, they'd have to replace the entire service.
That is correct.
That is correct, and we do review all proposals. We make sure everything is up to state standards. And I think we've talked before.
We have. I've replaced
I'm the
several,
one in the basement.
I know, I've replaced several lead services in
Yeah.
town.
Yeah, so we are trying to keep on top of all of that and make sure that everything is replaced to standard.
Mhm.
That's all we can do.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so how, I understand the water's going through the city of Chicago, it's going to our tanks, right, it's safe, it's tested safe.
So we,
That's lead.
yeah, we talked about this a little bit before the meeting.
That's what I understand.
Yeah. So lead pipes, just like any pipes, copper pipes, plastic pipes, they're not completely infallible and permeable. So there's a little bit of lead that gets into the water when it's in contact. You know, water is a universal solvent. It dissolves most things over time. So there's a little bit of lead that gets into the water. Now the city, actually the city of Chicago, provides chemicals that coat the pipe and help to prevent the interface happening between the water and the lead. But that needs to be maintained. There are certain conditions where that doesn't work very well, or is out of practice, or maybe isn't being reached. And so I think we talked about too, it's important that you flush your lines. It's important that the resident has some maintenance to do if they have a lead pipe. You flush your line, go ahead.
No, you have to understand, so the water that's being pumped from Chicago, it's treated. It goes through water main feed lines that are made of ductile iron pipe. Everybody's water service, like in this area, pretty much the Midwest, they were made of lead. That's where your
But
lead.
It's coated, right? It's coated. Once it's coated, lead's not getting back into the water, is it? Because you were.
What's it coated with?
Well, she just said it. I don't know the chemical. He said it's in Chicago's
No,
coated.
they treat the water.
They treat the water.
Correct. So the water is going through ductile iron pipe.
Okay.
So when it's being fed to the city of Berwyn, it's being pumped into everybody's homes, but the homes have lead service
Okay. Have you
lines.
tested homes, especially in these areas with young children, coming out of the houses, they've had bad water? Have you tested one home with bad water?
So you can check your consumer confidence report for the results of that.
That's from the water that the city supplies, but
No.
who's testing like the house where it has young children? Have you tested the water coming out that's come through lead pipes? Have you found one home with bad water?
So those consumer confidence reports contain lead results at the tap.
Can you answer that question? Have you tested one home that the water has flowed from the city of Berwyn through a house has tested negative or bad? The answer is no. Okay. So I'm just saying, this is a 20-year program of spending money. You don't have one example of a home in Berwyn where the water is tested coming out bad. People do have other options, like putting filters on the water to make sure before you drink it that it comes out clean. Do you have a program in place for consideration to provide filters to the homes in Berwyn so the people who have to wait 20 years before their turn, their children don't have to drink bad water for 20 years? Have you considered a filtration system for that?
We have the lead water service share program, okay? If you wanna get your water service line replaced right now, you can apply for the program and get a
I don't want to
reimbursement.
get my line replaced at all because I'm not concerned about it. I have options. I don't have to drink it right out of the faucet. I can filter it.
You can certainly filter your water. Filtering removes 99% any lead that's in it.
Right, and
Yeah.
the chances are, because you haven't found one home in Berwyn where it's tested bad, why would I do that? If you can find one home in Berwyn where it's coming out of the pipes testing bad, then I'll have a different consideration about it. But you haven't found one thing. This is a government program to spend a lot of money, and you don't have one good example except the town in Flint, Michigan, where the government regulators didn't comply with their regulations, and they screwed us.
So what we're finding, what people have found, and this is why it's a regulation, you know, it's not just Flint, it's Newark, it's Washington DC, it's all over the country, where if the systems aren't maintained properly, now luckily Berwyn and the city of Chicago do a good job of maintaining the system, so they reduce the amount of lead. But if it's not maintained properly, if they make some chemical mistakes, if they have a storm, you know, in the city of Milwaukee, they had a big storm, so they had some sediment in the treatment, they changed their treatment, they release lead from the pipes. So it's a I don't want to call it like a ticking time bomb, but there are things that can happen that will result in lead being released. So that's why. But a filter is a reasonable solution. There are other solutions.
Why would you allow children for 20 years if you were concerned about them to drink unfiltered water? This is what you're saying, right? You got some children are going to
Well,
20 years.
no. What we're saying is that the city has been maintaining the water properly for 20 years. There has not been a violation from the city in over 10 years. Yeah. But it takes work, energy, and money to maintain that. And so, and there are situations where it doesn't. So what everyone's concerned about is if there is a change, there is danger there. And so they want to remove the danger, remove the variability, remove the risk. And that's why these programs are in place.
And the other question I had was, you said there'd be a loan that the city of Berwyn would end up having to repay back at 0 interest. And you said you're not running blind, but what's the amount of that loan?
What-
4 million a year for 5
No,
years.
that's what we would borrow, that's what we would get for free. What was the amount of the loan, the money we don't spend, we have to pay back to the government program? What's the estimated amount of that payback loan?
So you apply for the same amount, whether it's going to be forgiven or not. So that payback right now, as it sits, would be at $4 million per year. So we get a loan for $4 million, and the next year, $4 million, sum total of $20 million. That was the last financial slide that I showed.
I thought 4 million was free.
That's only if you get the funds forgiven. So there's a scoring system that the state uses. And that's why we're here tonight. We're trying to get high on that scoring system to get the free money. There's a chance that we won't be ranked high enough and we'll have to take a regular loan.
That's scary.
Sure, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And there are other funding mechanisms. This is just the best one right now. But the city is doing their best, and so are we, to make sure that we get as much money as we can get right now. But yeah, it's a big thing. Yes?
Sir, I came from an earlier presentation, and Robinson Engineering is already active. You've already started programs in other communities. Could you list those communities that have already started to work with you on this program?
You want me to just send you an email? Or we've got a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, you came before to a committee of the whole meeting to do this presentation, and I remember you talking about other communities that have already, started the program with you before our program's not done. So, off the top of your head, are we competing for these funds with your guesstimate, how many other surrounding communities?
There's a lot of competition. So we've replaced lead service lines in 5 communities that are done now, but they're smaller communities. They have less to think about, less to plan, less money involved. Right now, we have about 20 other communities that we're working with. Berwyn is in pretty good shape because they have a high density. You guys have a high density of lead service lines. I don't want to say good shape. When it comes to the funding, I think you'll score significantly high because you have community characteristics that would lend to that. So we're optimistic that we'll get some forgiveness funding in this first year. Yes.
I got a question in regards, first of all, my name is Mr. Sardo, I'm a retired veteran. I moved into Berwyn about 12 years ago. I bought my dream home on, what's that, Old Park. First thing that happened, I wanted to upgrade my water service. I got hit with $15,000 just to tap into the water main or the water buffalo and bring it right into my house. That was something I wasn't expecting. 15,000 is a lot. Just to bring it in from water buffalo all the way into the house, okay? There wasn't any program. Now you're saying, like that young lady said over there, that when you sell your house, if it's not updated, you're gonna get a whammo on that?
That's how the law is written. Now, I've never been part of a real estate transaction where that happens. So I'm not sure how that plays out in the real world.
It doesn't play out well. We're all here, we're, homeowners.
Mhm.
We pay taxes, and if you look at everybody, we're the ones that are paying the taxes for people who don't work. They're just kicking back at home, getting our money. So that's not fair again, you know?
Yes.
I need the service, I come to my alderman or to the mayor, I talk to them, concerning my, my concern. Not long ago, last year, they repaid, Old Park, real nice, okay? A month later, my street started caving all over. And then it turned out that it was the sewer line that was caving in. So they went out there, I had to pay extra money just to get a survey done, what was going on. They said it was a water main.
Yeah.
It's on the street, but they said that's part of my property. I
Okay.
don't understand that. The property line ends at the sidewalk, not over there in the street. So, we had to go back and forth. I called the state for assistance. They said they said they couldn't help because, Berwyn, gets assistance from, the state. And I don't buy that, you know? Yeah.
I'm not quite sure about that particular situation.
Well, my alderman knows what was going on at the time, you know?
Um, but
But I'm just saying that, you know, the water main, you know, I bought a new, home, I upgraded and everything. So now, these individuals, I don't think they did anything with the water main. So when they sell it, they're gonna get a whammo. It should be on the homeowner, the new guys that are buying the house, you know, not us.
Sure.
That's all the money.
Like I said, I'm not quite sure how
Well,
that's going to
yeah,
play
you're
out.
just a contractor or whatever. But we as, citizen Berwyn,
Mhm.
we love this town, we like it. But, you know, we don't want to get, you know, penalized and paying for upkeep.
Sure.
What are other cities doing, you know?
Other
Like
cities are.
New York, Dallas, or wherever, what are they doing with their water line?
They're in the same boat. You know, everybody's in the same boat right now. People have realized that these lead pipes need to come out, and now everybody's trying to figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
water
it.
line's over 100 years old.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they want to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody has to pay for it. You know, as homeowners, if you have a rental, property, you're gonna get, you know, your taxes. So what do? Increase the rent and lose the tenant, or what? Then you have a vacant, apartment. Doesn't make sense.
Yes. These are all valid concerns.
Well, nobody's doing anything.
So the city and the state and the federal governments are trying to they're trying to give more money right now, and I think that's the answer. If everyone has a free replacement, it's not a problem. But so we're trying to, and the city is kind of stuck in a hard place. Go ahead.
All comments need to be made at the mic.
Okay, okay,
It's because we're being videotaped.
Yeah, no.
okay.
No, it's not you guys.
Okay.
It's- Sorry.
Yes, sir, in the back.
I got a quick question.
You want to come up here and speak into the mic? Yeah, you're,
Sorry.
see, you're the first one with the new rules. This is just like the whole situation.
Sorry.
Okay, I got a question. So this project is gonna last for how long?
Long time, probably 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
So by the time you guys get to me, I'm looking at the map and it shows that I'm probably one of the last ones. So if I was to sell my property, I'm gonna get hit with that?
That's kind of the same question that he had.
Right, so that,
Um,
and the reason I'm asking is because, same question he asked, but why should it be on us if let's say we're on the list, but we're at the end of the list? So that shouldn't even really apply to us if we wanted to sell the property. It should just roll over to the new owner, because who knows when they're gonna get to them, which will be, I don't know, but at the end of the 20 years or so, you know, so how do you guys, figure that,
I think that's a tight spot. It is. And there's no way to sugarcoat it. If you have a property that all of a sudden people are looking at a lead pipe as a detriment, and you didn't know that when you bought the house, so ideally, you would have got that discount when you bought the house.
Right.
But that wasn't the situation then.
Right.
The laws have changed, and now it is. It's just a tight spot. And like I said,
Right, but have you guys ever taken that in consideration, though? Because, like I said, it's gonna hurt us when we're not really, we shouldn't be responsible for it, because even the new owners, I'm not thinking of selling yet, but I'm just,
sure.
even the new owners, when they come in, they won't be seeing that replacement until, like I said, in my case, it's gonna be at the end of the project.
Sure.
So have you guys taken that in consideration, and have you guys want to reevaluate that? Because, you know, that shouldn't affect us.
Sure. And I would say at this point, I know this is a city meeting, but this is a state mandate. And so I think we're getting to the point now, if you really have an issue with this, write your state rep. You know, they are the people that are making these laws with the real estate disclosure and the law to replace all that service lines. So, you know, the city is kind of in the middle here. The city's trying to do their best.
Right,
Yeah.
that's the reason we're bringing it up, because it's probably, I don't know if you guys thought about it, you know, and if you didn't, you know, that's why we're bringing it up, and it's a concern for us,
Yeah,
because,
no, I mean,
you know.
we've totally thought about it. That's why we're trying to move forward with this $4 million times 5-year project plan. I mean, there's other communities that aren't doing anything. The whole Midwest has
Right, but you say it's a mandate, though. They're gonna have to do it eventually. But,
Right, so we're jumping,
right, but like I said, I'm going back to my concern is that,
yes, so we can get the money where other communities, they'll wait too long and then the funds will run out. So I really don't know.
the answer to my question.
Yeah,
No,
I would,
I feel
I
like
mean,
I'm
I-
doing the best that I can.
No, and I understand that like, you guys are trying to get ahead of it, which we appreciate, I guess. But then again, now I'm expressing my concern because if I was to want to sell my property, then what, I'm gonna get hit with that. And even though the new owners are not gonna see that, and it's not gonna affect them because they're towards the end of the project, so,
sure. There are still some things that have not been worked out with this law. And I think, and I'll state this to everybody, if you guys have concerns, if you mobilize, you talk to your state reps, you voice your opinions, people will listen. So I would talk to them, but the city, I think, is doing their best to implement the law as it is, trying to do the best for the citizens of the city and reducing the costs, giving you knowledge, hosting meetings like this.
And plus, all of your comments and concerns, they're going right to the state. to the
Yes.
IEPA. They have to hear all of your concerns, so
Well,
that's why we're having this meeting.
well, hopefully we get an answers. Like I said, it's if you guys live here and you guys,
Yeah.
you're in my shoes, you would think about the same thing that,
Yeah.
you guys
I
want,
got you.
And
so.
I'm in the same boat.
And we can help you too. I mean, we'll give you information, So, but thank you for your comments. Thank you too.
I have a resolution of that one.
Well,
and that is-
the mic's right here.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Mr. Mercado again, as I was indicating. I was trying to find some information. Berwyn is, is part of an entitlement, community receiving an annual allocation from HUD. What is it that we receive from the state or from HUD?
Oh, the CDBG areas?
That's correct, the CD, right, absolutely.
Sidewalk, lighting.
Now, the thing is, if you're doing the water line, why don't you replace the sewer line as well? This gentleman said we're a town of trees, yeah, and where do those roots go? Right into the, into the water main?
I'm going to ask you to keep your conversations quiet. I can hear you all the way up here.
Okay.
Please let this gentleman speak. If you have a comment, please come to the microphone.
It's always, on homeowners that we have to pay to upgrade our homes for water service or sewer line. And it's coming to a point, when is it gonna stop? Right, never, as they say, there is nothing free. Somebody has to pay for this.
I understand your frustration.
Yeah, it is frustrating when, you want to live like everybody else in America, but yet they, I don't want to get into that topic, but come on, enough's enough. We need some assistance from somewhere. Our aldermen should be knocking, and we as well should be knocking at the doors that the senator, state senator, or the state rep, or even higher, to get assistance in our community, whether we want to live here, and if we don't want to live here, then let's move out to a different state or whatever,
But the purpose of this meeting is to provide assistance.
Right. You're giving us information, but when is that gonna come? I already upgraded my water line. It cost me over $15,000. So the homes that already been upgraded, they don't need that service anymore. It's the other homes that need to increase their, their water line. If you do, your basement, if you put a toilet down there or anything, whammo, you gotta increase it. Attic, you do an upgrade, whammo, you're stuck one way or another.
Also, your social security, or your.
I'm sorry, what?
Your real estate tax.
Well, yeah, everything goes up,
Those are valid comments. Thank you.
Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the resolution is that when we go to sell our home, depending on when this project is being done, whether we're in the residence or we're wanting to get out of the residence, and of course, when we go to move somewhere, we look as to the water conditions, because like Burridge, the problem that they had with stenogenics and that, with the cancer
Sure.
and that. We don't know what's in our water. They say that, but how do we know? And at the same time, testing, when we were selling our homes, I remember years ago, you had your radon test, you had your lead test, and that. But the thing is that if your home hasn't been done yet, and that, which according to somebody telling me on the map, I'm on the last, I'm going, yay, I'm out of here, because I've been here long enough. But the thing is that when it comes to that, you add it to the price of your house, and you don't negotiate down.
Sure. Yeah.
That's it.
And that's what I was
Here,
trying to
I'm
get at.
adding this on. This is what you got to do. So you pay
Right.
now, or you pay later, or you pay both ways.
Right.
So
And
those
that's-
things can change.
Right. There's what we say is going to happen and the law, but then there's also market conditions. And if people want you to buy your house bad enough, they'll pay the money. Right.
Well, a lot of them are taking and cutting it down to maybe 2 corner walls, an L shape, and then rehabbing the whole thing. And they're trying to sell it for $500,000. Berwyn, $500,000, please. Riverside Drive, nice homes, long time, yes, but in other areas, and I'm like, they're all high. And well, if you got a lot of kids and you want to put a lot of people in there, that's fine. But where are you going to do it for the parking, as well as other things in the way of schools? Because when I went to Morton, we didn't have half as much as what we got in there now. And then in Grant Works, you got 3,000 over in Grant Works as freshman class alone. And I'm like, and yet you see people being commuted over. And you're like, this is what we're paying for. And yet, when I was going to high school, we had people from the city of Chicago coming in. It's still happening. It's not being, scrutinized that much. Yet we're paying as residents.
Sure.
And that's why even in Riverside, they opened it up. St. Mary's has got Cicero, Berwyn, and everything else coming in there. And look at the taxes that Riverside's paying.
Sure. So I think what your point is this is a bigger issue. There's taxes, there's funding, there's a lot of things at play here, and we acknowledge that. And again, this is a comment period, and we're taking comments. Sir, you want to come up to the mic? Yeah, come on up.
But my question otherwise is with the meters that we have in our basements
Yes.
and on the wall of our
Yes.
homes for taking it rather than having to come in and read the meters and things, those are being replaced, both of them?
The
On the
meters will
exterior
not,
as well as interior?
as of now, the meters were not part of the plan to get funded. It is possible that will be amended
Part
in the
of it.
future.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Just 2 quick questions.
Okay.
One, it seems that many of my, my name's Josh, Josh Fulton. Hi. So it seems that many of my fellow homeowners are very concerned about realtors and realty costs and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Has the city considered this, or have you worked it into additional plans with other communities to possibly meet with a local realtor or two to be able to provide some insights on the process and kind of how that's going to work forward to maybe alleviate some concerns of, homeowners kind of through the years, if this is going to be a long-standing project, get some input from them on, real world, how that's going to work in terms of that kind of thing?
We have not looked into that yet, but that's a great idea.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
My only other quick question was if I choose to go forward with the volunteer cost sharing program.
Sure.
I recognize that, a big part of this idea is that funding, who knows? It's the state. Sort of
Right.
that kind of thing, right? You never know. That if I choose to go forward with that, is that the extent, give or take, generally the cost that I'm going to bear for something like this? If I'm able to kind of go forward with and apply for a cost-sharing program, or is something going to happen later where our other stuff is going to kind of be brought up?
I think if you get your service line replaced now and you help pay for it,
Yeah.
that's all you'll have to do.
Okay.
We're not going to come back and say you got to upsize it or you got to do whatever. No, that'll be done. Now, there is the possibility that more funding will come from the state or federal government, and they'll approach you at some later date and say, hey, you want to get yours replaced for free?
Sure.
And you'll say, oh, man, I already replaced it. But no, I don't think there'll be any additional requirements.
Okay. Sounds good. Communities in the last 5 years that maybe, or 10 years, that haven't been able to get funding, generally, how have they worked within their town or city governments to be able to kind of, is that mostly a water bill issue? Is it mostly an property tax issue? I mean, what's the common thing there?
There's a lot of mechanisms that can be used. What we're
Right.
seeing is the most common is there's a cost-sharing program where there's, the city takes on some of the costs, the resident has some of the costs, and they replace the service line.
Great.
There are other options out there. You can build it into a water bill. You could put it over 20 years like a mortgage as part of the water, like infrastructure rate fee. You could go to, some municipalities are talking about going to banks, partnering with a bank. The bank will give a loan, things like that. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. You could raise property taxes. You could raise sales taxes. We're really at the beginning of how this is all happening right now.
So there's no standard operating procedure for the western suburbs of how this is going to be handled?
No.
Okay,
Too early.
great.
This is the best funding source right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, you're next.
Hello, I'm Jim Sullivan. I have a question. Are you going to be replacing water mains? And if you do replace water mains, are you, as you have the street all dug up, are you going to be replacing the service from the water main to the B box?
Yes.
And who absorbs that cost?
So that, do you want to take this one?
It's gonna be from the water main to the meter per the law, and we will use our ARPA funds.
So that won't, the homeowner won't get hit with that at that time while you're replacing the mains.
If we are repairing or replacing mains per the law, we need to replace the service from the water main to the meter.
If it's
Okay.
lead.
Thank you.
Number one, I don't know what a bead box is.
We're gonna, a B box is short for a buffalo box. It's the,
Is that that?
it's that right there.
Okay.
The little metal thing in your parkway. Got a screw in there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my question, after they replace this water main to the meter, in my house, lead pipes. So, once again, do I have to pay this penalty because my inside pipes have lead also?
That is beyond our jurisdiction. So that is
So
fully your
do you have to
responsibility.
pay extra because you have lead pipes in your house?
I would not, I don't want to comment on that because I don't know.
Well, if you have to pay for it outside, I imagine you'd have to pay for it inside.
I would imagine so too. But that's just a whole different ball of wax. Yeah.
When did lead pipes get eliminated from houses?
Some still have them, but most of them do not.
Lead pipes?
Just lead coming up to your meter, and then from the inside, then it's either galvanized or copper. So, and that is your responsibility.
I need your card.
That's why he's here.
My meter is in the center of the house. Do you dig underneath my basement floor to get to the meter?
Every installation is different, but yes, the idea would be they have a locate. So how it works is they have a drill that drills from the outside, and they have a locator that's on the ground surface that can locate where the drill is. So they would locate it, and they would radio back to the driller and say, you need to go a little left, a little right, a little up, a little down, until they get to the spot where your water meter is, and then they would
Go up.
They would, well, they don't go up. They actually break through your floor
Okay,
or saw cut your floor, and then they go down to where the drill is.
okay, because I'd hate to,
Yes.
well, whatever. I'd hate to have them tear up my basement just to get to it.
Yes. No,
Yes.
they will break your floor, but they'll put it back.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kelly Nyland. First, I wanted to clarify the Illinois law that was enacted in January of 2022. Was that mandating the cities to replace or homeowners to replace?
So the law pertains to the water supply system. They're really the ones that have to meet the law. The homeowners can sign a waiver and say, we don't want to replace this. Then we went over that a little bit. We don't want to do our private portion, and then they don't have to pay for anything. But now let me correct that. I'm sorry. Correct me if I'm wrong. In the city of Berwyn, the homeowner is responsible for the whole service line, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Are you referring to when you're selling a home?
No, I was just wondering, that law, just clarification, they're mandating it to be upgraded, but are they providing who's responsible to upgrade it? Like, are they mandating that cities upgrade now, or are they mandating that it's the homeowner in cities that don't take responsibility for it?
It's the city's responsibility to
Okay.
at least offer the replacement to the homeowner.
Okay. Second, I just wanted to comment that I think that I support this program, and I think it's excellent that Berwyn has been proactive to apply for these funds. I think that it's a financial relief to property owners. It's contributing to making our residents and community healthier. And so I definitely support that. I did have my water line replaced this past year after the passage of the state law, also after the passage of the Infrastructure Act. When I was applying for the program and before I did start service, I did send an email to the mayor and to the engineering department asking if there would be more funding coming based on the Infrastructure Act. And whether property owners who fulfilled or who went ahead and paid for the service or whatever with the current reimbursement program, if they would be retroactively be reimbursed if more funds were to come as a result of this act. And those questions in my email were ignored. Other ones were answered. I did not receive a reply from the mayor. And I understand through this meeting that the city doesn't plan to retroactively fulfill those who have upgraded after the passage of these acts and laws. But I was wondering if the city would consider retroactively reimbursing those who did after the passage of these laws and acts when the time would come based on this program. So for example, if my home was scheduled to have its line replaced in, say, 7 years, if I'm still a resident at that 7-year mark, would the city consider reimbursing me if I'm still that homeowner? Sorry, that was a lot.
Oh, it's a valid question.
We can add that to the list of kind of bullet points as we talk further, and then city council and so on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing I'd like to add is, probably in the last couple of years, talking about selling your home or just informing people that you have lead service, that's what everybody's had to do in the last several years. At that point, it's up to the buyer to decide, do we want to negotiate and do we want the service changed or not? And that's sometimes a negotiation between the seller and the buyer. And then if they approve it, then it's up to the buyer. If negotiation's there, it's up to the buyer to change that service out. So a lot of it's just negotiation. It would be a selling feature to have non-lead service moving forward. And it is, I understand that people have lived here for a long time, but when you buy a house and there's new services and new sewers and things like that, and flood control and things like that, that really does kind of put you up a little higher than a house that does not have that. I just wanted to add that.
First, I want to say thanks for the information. It's been really informative. I understand that at this point, we don't know what all the funding's going to play out and how much, if anything, homeowners might have to pay,
Yes.
having the lead service line replaced. Under the current city cost sharing program, how much of the cost would the city cover? Is it a percentage of the total cost, or is there a set dollar limit of assistance that people will be able to get? 50% up to $2,500.
The water service.
Okay.
Flood mitigation is 50% up to $3,500.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Hey, here now.
Water service is 50% up to $2,500. Flood mitigation is 50% up to $3,500. Downspout disconnect is $25 a downspout. If you need to have your gutters rerouted, it's $300.
Act now, we'll double your order. Is there any other questions?
My name is Paul. Could you explain what water mitigation is in the whole course of things?
Of course. The flood mitigation program covers a backwater valve with a bypass pump, a modified overhead sewer, or an overhead sewer. That's flood control.
Is that what, to prevent flooding?
Combined sewer overflow into your basement, yes.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any of that. I've
Okay.
never had an issue, but I thought we were talking about the water mains. As far as the water main,
The water services,
okay.
we offer 50% to $2,500.
$2,500.
Yes.
Your part would be 25, because currently a water service in from the B box into the house, like 50 feet's about 8 to 10 grand, I think.
It ranges, yes.
So, and you say, but it's the city's responsibility behind the B box to the main, correct?
The water services and the sewer services are the responsibility of the homeowners because it services your building exclusively.
Right, from the B
Yeah.
box forward.
No,
But
from the main,
B
from the
box back
main.
is the water main running for the whole city.
Anything from the water main or from the sewer main all the way to your home is the responsibility of the homeowner.
That could be in the middle of the street.
Did that change at some point?
No.
Because we just had some issues in our neighborhood, and
No.
we were told that it was from the B box back, because the head of the water department got very upset at me on the phone and said that it was from the B box towards the house. It would be totally up to the customer or the homeowner. It would be their responsibility, because the city was only responsible up to the B box. So,
There's a lot of communities that divide the ownership at the B box, but there are some where the private side maintains and owns the whole thing.
okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments?
So the answer is from the B box to the home, or from the
main
to the home? When the main, that starts where?
Middle of the street, the middle of the street.
So I'm gonna point over here. This whole line right here, that's the responsibility of the homeowner. All the way into the street, that whole thing, that whole small pipe.
Once again, the water main is the line basically where the hydrants are, correct? So whatever
Yes.
the side of the street is lucky enough to have the hydrants on their side, they're good because they got a shorter run. Is that
Probably,
correct?
yeah.
Okay.
That's a shorter main.
Thanks.
Okay, it appears that there are no further questions or comments from the public attending. I am going to call this meeting adjourned at 7:16. Thank you for attending.
Yeah.
If any of you have Hispanic neighbors, please ask them to give us a call if they would like information. Yo soy mexicana, yo puedo hablar con sus vecinos.
I mean, they don't have a program for